The day my stepfather threw me out, it was raining. I remember because my acceptance letter to MIT got soaked as I stumbled down the driveway, his words still ringing in my ears. You'll never amount to anything, just like your deadbeat father. I'm Sophia Chen, though back then I still used my stepfather's last name, Marshall. My mother had married Richard Marshall when I was 6, not long after my father died in a car accident. For 12 years, I lived in his shadow, watching him build Marshall Electronics into one of the largest consumer electronics companies in the Midwest. That rainy night, standing on the street with nothing but a backpack and my dreams, I made a promise to myself. I would prove him wrong, no matter what it took. You ungrateful brat. Richard had shouted just minutes earlier, his face red with rage. I put a roof over your head for 12 years, and this is how you repay me? By embarrassing me in front of the board. All I'd done was point out a critical flaw in their new product line during a dinner conversation. The circuit design was fundamentally flawed. It would overheat within months of use. I knew because I'd been secretly building and testing electronics in my bedroom since I was 13. I was trying to help, I said quietly, watching my mother hover anxiously in the background. The design will fail. Customers will sue. Help? He laughed bitterly. You're just jealous of your stepbrother. Michael worked hard to develop that design. He's going to run the company someday, while you waste your time with those ridiculous inventions in your room. Michael, my stepbrother, stood in the doorway smirking. At 23, he had a business degree from a middling college and an overinflated sense of his own brilliance. The product design he'd developed was actually copied from a Chinese manufacturer, something I discovered during my late-night research sessions. The design isn't original, I said, my voice shaking. It's stolen from. The slap came out of nowhere, leaving my cheeks stinging. My mother gasped but said nothing. She never did when it came to Richard. Get out, he snarled. You're 18 now. I'm done supporting you and your delusions of being some genius inventor. Mom, I pleaded, but she turned away, tears in her eyes. I've already withdrawn you from that fancy engineering school, Richard continued. No daughter of mine is going to waste my money studying science when she should be learning her place. That's when I ran upstairs, grabbed my pre-packed backpack, I'd always known this day might come, and fled into the rain. The MIT acceptance letter was in my pocket, the one I'd earned through years of perfect grades and science fair victories. The one that now meant nothing without the financial support Richard had promised. I had $342 in my secret savings account, a handful of electronic components I'd smuggled out in my backpack, and absolutely no idea what I was going to do next. As I walked through the rain, my phone buzzed. A text from my best friend Lisa. I heard what happened. My mom says you can stay with us. Lisa's family ran a small electronics repair shop downtown. Her parents had immigrated from Korea with nothing and built their business from scratch. They understood what it meant to start over. That night, curled up on Lisa's family's pull-up couch, I started planning. MIT was out of reach without financial aid, but that didn't mean my dreams were dead. I had something Richard would never understand, true passion for electronics and innovation. The next morning, Mr. Park, Lisa's father, found me at his kitchen table surrounded by circuit diagrams I've been drawing all night. You have good hands for this work, he said, examining my sketches. Better than most engineers I know. Really? I looked up hopefully. He nodded. Work in my shop, learn everything. Save money. There are other paths to success besides expensive schools. And so began my real education. By day, I repaired smartphones, laptops, and gaming consoles in the Park's shop. By night, I studied everything I could find online about electronics design and manufacturing. Mr. Park taught me things no university could, the practical skills of troubleshooting, the secrets of how things really worked. 6 months later, I had my first breakthrough. I developed a way to repair a common failure in popular smartphones that even the manufacturer couldn't fix. Word spread quickly. Soon people were mailing us phones from across the country. Richard's threat about withdrawing me from MIT turned out to be empty. I'd already accepted my scholarship before he kicked me out. But by then, I discovered something important. I was learning more in a Park's shop than I would in any classroom. 1 year turned into 2. The repair business grew. I started developing my own diagnostic tools, small innovations that made repairs faster and more reliable. Mr. Park gave me space in the back of the shop to set up a small lab. "You have gift," he said one evening, watching me work. "Not just for fixing things, but for making them better." I filed my first patent at 20. It was for a diagnostic system that could predict electronic failures before they happened. The Parks helped me navigate the legal process, investing their own savings to help with the patent fees. By 21, I had licensed my diagnostic system to 3 major repair chains. The royalties weren't huge, but they were enough to rent my own small apartment and set up a proper workshop. I kept tabs on Marshall Electronics through industry news and social media. Michael had indeed taken over product development just as Richard had planned. The company was growing, riding the wave of a booming electronics market. But I noticed something concerning. Their product quality was slipping. Customer complaints were rising. At 23, I founded Nova Electronic Solutions. We started small, developing specialized repair tools and diagnostic systems. But I had bigger plans. Every patent, every innovation was building towards something larger. I never used the Marshall name again. I became Sophia Chen, reclaiming my father's heritage and building my own identity. The only connection I maintained to my old life was through my mother's secret Facebook messages. She wasn't strong enough to leave Richard, but she wanted me to know she was proud of me. Then came the day that changed everything. I was in my office, reviewing designs for our latest diagnostic system, when Lisa burst in waving a tablet. "Sophia, you need to see this." The headline made my heart stop. "Marshall Electronics faces class action lawsuit over defective products." The article detailed exactly what I'd warned them about 5 years ago. Their flagship product line was failing catastrophically. Devices were overheating, some even catching fire. The company's stock was in freefall. "They're estimating over $100 million in damages," Lisa said. "They might not survive this." I leaned back in my chair, memories of that rainy night flooding back. Richard's angry face, Michael's smirk, my mother's silence. "That's not all," Lisa continued, scrolling through her tablet. "Look who's reaching out to electronic repair companies for help." There it was, an urgent message from Marshall Electronics to various repair and diagnostic companies, seeking solutions to their crisis. They needed someone who could not only fix their current problems, but also help redesign their entire product line. Someone exactly like me. "Are you going to respond?" Lisa asked softly. I stared at the message for a long moment. 5 years ago, Richard had thrown me out, telling me I'd never amount to anything. Now his company's survival might depend on the very skills he'd dismissed. "Yes," I said finally, but not as Sophia Chen. I picked up my phone and dialed my lawyer's number. It was time to set up a meeting through one of our shell companies. Let them think they were dealing with some faceless corporation. The look on Richard's face when he realized who really owned Nova Electronic Solutions would be worth every moment of hardship I'd endured. But first, I had to prepare. Because this wasn't just about revenge, it was about proving that sometimes the person you underestimate the most becomes the only one who can save you from yourself. The Marshall Electronics headquarters looked exactly as I remembered, a gleaming glass tower with the company logo proudly displayed across its facade. But this time, I wasn't entering through the side door as Richard Marshall's unwanted stepdaughter. I was arriving in a chauffeur-driven car as Catherine Wong, CEO of Nova Electronic Solutions. "Are you ready for this?" Lisa asked. She'd insisted on coming as my executive assistant, worried I might lose my composure when facing Richard again. I adjusted my designer suit, worth more than everything I owned when I left home. "I've been ready for 5 years." The security guard directed us to the executive conference room on the top floor. Through the glass walls, I could see Richard pacing nervously while Michael sat slumped in a chair, his former arrogance replaced by obvious anxiety. "You can't do this," Michael sputtered. "Dad, she's just trying to steal the company." "Like you stole those designs?" I shot back. "The difference is, I built something real, something legitimate." I turned back to Richard. "You have until tomorrow morning to accept our terms, including the apology." I gathered my things and headed for the door, then paused. "Oh, and Richard?" I did amount to something after all. That evening, I sat in my penthouse office, watching the sun set over the city. Lisa brought in a stack of messages. Other board members from Marshall Electronics desperately trying to ensure we wouldn't walk away from the deal. "They're terrified," she said. The stock dropped another 15% just today. My phone buzzed. A text from my mother. I just heard. I'm so proud of you, sweetheart. So proud. At 9 p.m., Richard's number appeared on my phone. I let it ring 3 times before answering. I'm sorry, he said without preamble. I was wrong about you. About everything. That's a start, I replied. But I need to hear it in person. Tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. The next day's meeting was different. Richard had aged another decade overnight. Michael was absent. Apparently, he'd resigned rather than face the humiliation of working under my authority. Richard stood up as I entered. Sophia, I'm sorry. What I did to you was unforgivable. You were just a girl trying to help, and I was too proud and stupid to listen. I studied his face, seeing real regret there for the first time. You hit me, I said quietly. You threw me out with nothing. I know. His voice cracked. Your mother? She never forgave me for that. She's planning to leave me, you know. Says she should have done it that night. I hadn't known that, but it didn't surprise me. Mom had found her strength too, over the years. The papers are ready to sign, I said, changing the subject. Nova Electronics will take control of product development immediately. We'll announce the partnership this afternoon. He nodded, then hesitated. Will you be running it personally? No, I have better things to do than fix your mistakes. My team will handle it. I met his eyes. But I will be on the board, and I will be watching everything. The deal was signed by noon. By closing bell, Marshall Electronics stock had stabilized. The market loved the partnership with Nova Electronics, a young, innovative company known for solving impossible problems. 6 months later, we launched the first new product line. It was everything I dreamed of creating as a teenager. Elegant, efficient, and absolutely original. The reviews were stellar. Sales exceeded all projections. Richard stepped down as CEO shortly after, citing health reasons. He still owns his shares but has no say in day-to-day operations. Sometimes I see him at board meetings, sitting quietly in the corner, watching me lead discussions about technical innovations and market strategy. Last week, I finally cleared out my old room at the Park's shop. Mr. Park helped me pack up my first workbench, the one where I learned to repair phones and dream bigger dreams. Success best revenge, he said in his broken English, smiling proudly. But he was only partly right. Success isn't about revenge. It's about proving something to yourself. About taking all the pain and doubt and turning it into something meaningful. I kept one thing from my old life, that rain-soaked MIT acceptance letter. It hangs framed in my office, next to Nova Electronics' first patent. A reminder that sometimes the best education comes from being thrown out in the rain. Richard sent me a letter recently. You've built something remarkable, he wrote. Something I was too blind to see coming. I don't expect forgiveness, but I hope someday you'll know how deeply I regret my actions. I filed the letter away without responding. Some wounds take more than words to heal. But I did do one thing. Last month, Nova Electronics launched a scholarship program for young women in electronics and engineering. The first recipient, a brilliant 18-year-old whose stepfather didn't believe in her dreams. She'll never know that her funding comes from the girl who was once thrown out with nothing. But she'll learn what I learned, that sometimes being underestimated is the greatest gift anyone can give you. Because when no one believes in you, you learn to believe in yourself. And that's worth more than any inheritance or acceptance letter. My mother lives with me now, in a sunny apartment overlooking the city. Sometimes we talk about that rainy night, about choices and consequences and finding your strength. I should have stood up for you, she says often. You're standing up now, I tell her. That's what matters. Last week, I drove past the Marshall Electronics building. My name is on it now, along with Nova Electronics. Not as Sophia Marshall, the unwanted stepdaughter, but as Sophia Chen, the CEO who saved the company. It's not about revenge anymore. It's about building something that matters, something that helps other dreamers find their way through the rain. And if Richard Marshall has to live with the knowledge that his biggest mistake was throwing away his most valuable asset, well, that's just business.